Jesus the Christ, he really him. Getting into a time machine and going back to first century in Jerusalem. According to Matthew chapter 12, Jesus said to an audience and to a group of people who reverenced their temple, took pride in their temple. It was their staple of religion, and to many of them, it represented the very presence of God himself. Jesus says he is greater than even the temple. Matthew chapter 17, Jesus says to the people who have valued the writings of Moses, esteemed Moses as the greatest prophet that ever walked this earth, Jesus said to them that one greater than Moses is in the building. Mark chapter 2, Jesus tells these people who loved the seventh-day Sabbath, because God blessed the seventh-day Sabbath in the beginning, and at this time they were one of the few groups, if not the only group of people, who still experienced and acknowledged, I should say, the seventh-day Sabbath. So much so that to avoid falling into some of the same pitfalls as their forefathers fell when they violated any of Jehovah's laws and commandments, they enforced rigid rules to try to keep people from breaking these laws, hoping that it would stop them from experiencing the displeasure of God. So they had all these rigid rules and laws. Yet Jesus steps into this culture and says to them, he is the Lord, the presiding authority, even over the seventh-day Sabbath. What about Luke chapter 7? Again, these people who lived in the time when Jesus walked this earth, they looked up to Jehovah alone for having the authority to forgive the sins that were committed against him. Because although human beings, we offend each other and violate each other when we sin, oftentimes, all sin is an offense against God. Yet it was this culture that believed in that way where Jesus forgave a man in front of everybody who was present and made it known by saying to the man, your sins are forgiven. He didn't say, I forgive you for offending me. He said, no. Your sins committed against God are forgiven. Drove the religious people insane, because their response was, who can forgive sins but God alone? And let me close with John 11. Every human being, as a result of Adam and Eve's choice in the garden, experiences the first death. It's inevitable. And if we choose not to embrace salvation through Jesus, we will experience the second death, which is the natural consequence of rejecting life. He says to these people, one of the most boldest statements when he said, I am the resurrection and the life. Let me tell you something. It's a lot of religions. It's a lot of different schools of thought that say a lot of things about Jesus. He was just a man. He's no different from me and you. He was only a good prophet. No big deal there. He was a good prophet among many prophets. But yo, when we study his life, we're forced to confront the challenging reality that this was no ordinary man. But I'm gonna tell y'all something. The reason why I think this is so challenging, even for those who are already convinced that, no, Jesus was God. Jesus was not a regular man, he was God, is this. If we really believe that, then that means we have to take his teachings seriously. You hear me? It's more than just a profession that Jesus the Christ is divine. Jesus the Christ is God in the flesh. Let me tell you something. If we really believe that, then we're forced to study his teachings, to investigate his demonstration, to examine his life. And so far, the most credible and historically accurate accounts of Jesus's life are the 4 Gospels. Anybody got any other information on that? Let me know. So as we study his life, you and I, we are forced to confront the selfishness in us, the pride in us, everything in us that's unlike him. So I'm saying that to say this goes for everybody. And don't think just because you got the right profession, Jesus is Lord, that means that you've entered into the experience of actually trusting him as your Lord, as your God, as the perfect revelation of who the Creator is. So with that being said, with this revelation, guess what? We got a responsibility. And if you ain't convinced, my challenge to you is this. How about you study his life seriously? Study his life like an investigator. Study his life like a journalist. I guarantee you. Oh, let me add this though. Before I can guarantee that, I gotta add and study his life with an honest heart, being willing to be truthful with the evidence that's revealed. Now I can say, and I guarantee you, either you're going to walk away loving him and being one of his most faithful followers, or you're going to choose to be hardened against him and be one of his most bitterest opponents. There is no in between. But so far from what I've been searching out, and as I've been examining also and listening to the other world views and God views and what religions have to say, Jesus the Christ, yeah, he really him.